Look at your neighbor and tell them, let's try this again. We're going to continue where we left off last week with this thought in our minds: I survived the crash. I survived the crash. One of my favorite books, and I would recommend it to everybody in here. It's a phenomenal book written by a gentleman by the name of Ben Sherwood. The name of the book is The Survivors Club. It's a fascinating and powerful and encouraging book. I would encourage you to buy or download. Sherwood writes this book out of his experience at the beginning of his training in the U.S. Marine Corps. I'm coming back to that at the end. I heard a hoo-ah somewhere. All right. He defines in his book a survivor as anyone who faces and overcomes adversity, hardship, illness, physical or emotional trauma. They want to quit, but they find a way to persevere. The one phrase that really leaped out at me in the book was where he says, persons who survive know how to make the most of misfortune. They know how to make the most of misfortune. That they grow through misfortune in ways they never imagined. If you were to do an etymological study of the word survivor, you would discover that it comes from a French word that was derived from a Latin word that means, listen, to live beyond or live longer than. Let me give it to you again. Survive, the etymology of the word, means to live beyond or live longer than. You missed a shout even in the etymology of the word, because to live beyond or live longer than, the question has to be asked, beyond what and longer than what? The inference of the etymology of the word, don't miss this, is that you encountered something in your life that you should not have been able to live beyond. You went through something in your life that you should not be able to live longer than what you were going through. But the fact that you are on the other side of what you should not live beyond means that you are a survivor. I thought I'd have a few more shouts than that. The fact that you have lived longer than what you were going through means that you are a survivor. He goes on to say, and everybody ought to shout right here, that there are two rules to being in the Survivors Club. Check this out. He said the first rule is to know that everyone is a survivor. Everyone is a survivor. I'm going to try this side of the room. Everyone is a survivor. Let me try the balcony. Everyone is a survivor, because everyone has been through something that you should not have been able to live beyond. And if you haven't, keep on living. Something will come that should have snatched your life away. And when God allows you to overcome, you will look back at it and shout, because you were able to live beyond it and live longer than it. Touch somebody and tell them, I'm in the Survivors Club. That was the wrong neighbor. Tell somebody else, I'm in the Survivors Club. Watch this. He goes on to say that the second rule of the Survivors Club is that when you survive, what you will discover as you go through what you live beyond is that you're stronger than you know. I thought I had a shout in church. That one of the things you will learn when you go through adversity, hardship, illness, trauma, physical, emotional, or mental, is that God is going to introduce you to strength inside you that you didn't know you had. I mean, how many of you can testify today you didn't know you were as tough as you are until you went through what you went through? How many of you can testify today you didn't know you had the intestinal fortitude you have until you started catching hell? You didn't know you had the mental capacity until you started struggling. You didn't know you had the will to live until you started going through. You didn't know you could pray like that until you started going through. You didn't know you had faith like that until you started going through. You didn't know you were as anointed as you are until you started going through. I wish you would just touch yourself and say you're stronger than you know. Stronger than you know. You're stronger than you know. Touch somebody else and tell them, child, you are stronger than you know. That was the wrong neighbor. Touch somebody else and tell them you're stronger than you know. My boy Freddie Haynes has a little book, and in the last chapter is called Bounce Back. And he tells this illustration. Y'all don't do me like you did me last week. He tells this illustration that if you drop a plate, it will shatter. If you drop a bag of flour, it will lay flat. But if you drop a ball, it will bounce back. He said the relevant question is, why will one break, another lay flat, and the third one bounce back? He goes on to say, because it all depends on what it's made out of. When you go through stuff, you'll discover what you're made. I wish I had a witness in here. When you catch hell, when you go through hardship, when you go through struggle, you gonna discover what you are made of. And is there anybody in here who can say, I must be made of some good stuff? Because if you can hear my voice, you're a survivor. If you can hear my voice, you made it through what you went through. Shake your neighbor's hand and tell him, I'm made of good stuff.